Well, we have some more conversation to bring up when it comes to the hottest Montreal Canadiens prospect that refused to come to Montreal. Ladies and gentlemen, we are once again talking about University of Michigan Wolverine stud Michael Hage, and what Canadiens GM Kent Hughes had to say about Hage and his decision to stay in college. So, just to catch y'all up to speed with what's going on here, just in case you haven't been paying too much attention, Michael Hage was Montreal's first-round pick back in 2024. Their second first-round pick. The first one was Ivan Demidov. He was taken 21st overall and is a 6'1", 198-pound center at 20 years old right now. He played his sophomore season with the Michigan Wolverines in the NCAA, scoring 52 points in 39 games. Add to this a double point per game showcase at the World Juniors, where he was the most productive player, period, in the entire tournament. Obviously, this put Hage on the map as one of the best prospects in the NHL today. The fact that he's a Montreal Canadiens guy who had Montreal Canadiens fan roots growing up obviously adds to the story. And we had ourselves some reporting going on from Darren Dreger a few weeks ago, talking about how, according to reports, Montreal had a pretty big spot in their lineup open for Michael Hage upon his arrival. We all recognized there was a great profile of a prospect here. He's tall, he's lanky, he skates like Jack Eichel, and he playmakes like crazy. And according to Dregs, Montreal was prepared to have Michael Hage sign, burn off the first year of his ELC, and potentially play top 6 center minutes at the National Hockey League level as soon as right now. But unfortunately, Hage decided not to go down that path. He is going to stay with the Wolverines, and he'll play his junior season with the University of Michigan. This was pretty disappointing for Canadiens fans, but now we have Kent Hughes going out there on the TSN broadcast talking about this decision. Big shout out over to Chris G, Chris Habs 360, who went out there and posted some clips of Kent Hughes speaking out about Michael Hage on TV. Here's what the Canadiens GM had to say. Michael spent a lot of time working through the entire decision-making process with his advisors, and we talked about it. I think losing can be a great motivator. Kent then takes the time to talk about some other situations of college athletes deciding to stick it out in the NCAA instead of signing with their NHL teams right away. In fact, he brings up St. Louis Blues young forward and top prospect Jimmy Snuggerud as a prime example. A guy that probably could have signed right away with the St. Louis Blues, but who decided to spend another year with the Golden Gophers, dominate that league as the captain, before signing with the Blues shortly after. Kent Hughes says that that's a situation that kind of seems like the Michael Hage situation of today, where losing is the primary motivator. He wants to go back to college, he wants to finish what he had started, and he wants to win. Michael has other things he wants to continue working on in his game. We were ready to welcome him to Montreal, but we are willing to support his decision to stay in school for another year, to get closer to his degree and refine his game until he feels NHL ready. Now, that's all diplomatic, fine, and dandy, isn't it? The GM is not going to publicly speak out against his guy. He's going to defend his guy. He's going to make him feel safe. He's going to shelter him from any sort of potential criticism. The second part of the video interview also has some of those similar ideas tossed in there in the subtext. Kent Hughes said on Michael Hage, "We were open to anything. We told him he could burn the year on his ELC, or he could go to Laval and play in the playoffs if he wanted substantial ice time in a playoff run. Perhaps for him, there are certain things that will go unsaid that are part of the considerations, but we are going to support him. We think he is a bright spot for us in the future, and he is coming to Montreal. It's just a question of when." Now, this is also interesting too, hearing that Kent Hughes and the Canadiens were open to whatever it was that Hage wanted to do. They said, yeah, you could burn the first year of your ELC, you can play in the NHL, and you can probably get those top 6 minutes that Darren Dreger said the Canadiens had open for him. Or you can go to Laval, you can play in the playoffs there if you want more ice time, yada yada yada. It's kind of funny because the replies to this tweet go out there and share some very different sentiments. The Odd says maybe Hage wants to go to college to get an education the way Kent Hughes probably did. Maybe he wants a challenging career after hockey. Maybe go to law school like a guy named Dryden. Not So Slim Shady said if you read between the lines, Michael Hage will be traded this summer. Spartacus said so basically he doesn't want to play in the minors. And you can understand that there is a certain financial aspect that would go into a decision like that. You're making a lot more money in the NCAA. But ultimately, there are some various reports and commentaries on the matter from various people that are related to the situation too. This is what Michael Hage's agent Pat Brisson went out there and spoke about on TVA Sports. After discussing it with Michael Hage and the Canadiens organization, we concluded another year in college would be the best option for his development. He still needs to gain a bit more physical maturity. Additionally, he will have a leading role and leadership responsibilities next year, which will greatly help him his progression before moving on to the next step within the Canadiens organization. So, again, it's all diplomatic, it's all the right things. You're not going to see anything that is technically incorrect being tossed out here by the agent or the general manager. There also were some other conversations here. His camp probably wanted reassurance that he would only play for the Habs. From the way that Kent Hughes talked about it, it seemed like it would have been Hage's choice, but I guess we would never figure out inevitably if that was the truth or not. Kent Hughes saying that, we are open to anything, certainly got some conversation going. This is what the RHAB subreddit had to say. Man, a lot of people in this sub need to go breathe some fresh air. I get it, we can all see the light at the end of the tunnel, but we can't run to it. And legit, if you are upset or ticked off that a young man wants to play a season with his little brother, wants to spend another season adding more weight and getting stronger, if that makes you upset, then kindly screw off and think about some other things in your life. Now, I do want to make a little bit of a correction about this because it was reported initially that, Michael Hage wants to go back to Michigan to not just improve his strength and his leadership and his overall point production, but he wants to play with his brother Alexander Hage. That's what was reported early on. But it turns out Marco D'Amico went out there and posted this a few days ago as well. I want to correct some information here. Sources say that Alex Hage is, as of right now, not expected to join Michigan next year. Another season of junior hockey is likely upcoming for the other Hage. Alexander Hage, if you take a look at his profile as projected on Elite Prospects, he was playing with the Niagara Ice Dogs in the OHL this season, had 14 points in 48 games played, which is admittedly not great. And the projection was he would play with the Wolverines this upcoming season, up until D'Amico said no, it seems like he's actually going to go back to the OHL, and then he'll go to the NCAA after. So if Michael Hage wants to play with his brother, he might have to spend another 2 years with the Wolverines, which certainly will be pissing off Canadiens fans at that point. But with all that said, there are now conversations that have popped up as to whether or not Hage could be traded. Could he get sent over for Nico Hischier, Hage for Vinny Trocheck? Habs Infinity, a Canadiens fan page on Instagram, said that he should not be considered untouchable anymore. If you won't come, then you shouldn't be considered untouchable. You literally are the player needed to fill a massive hole the Canadiens have had for years. They're definitely upset. This post had 2,000 likes on Instagram and 714 messages. So ultimately, there are a number of conversations that you can have about Michael Hage. Kent Hughes is doing the right thing and just kind of stepping up for his guy in the media, but I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comments. How do you feel about Hage deciding to go back and Montreal's apparent perspective on it? Do you think there should be a more open avenue to this guy getting traded because of the decision? The agent says he's going to go to Montreal. Kent Hughes said he's going to go to Montreal. It's just a matter of time. Let me know in the comments all your opinions. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sign on. And bye.